Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. I'm Mickey Feldman-Simon. I am the founder of I'm Back at Work, and I'm excited to have Darlene Corbett here with us today to present to us, and she will be presenting on getting unstuck and tapping into the power of you. Thank you, Darlene, for joining us. And I hope everybody else joins us for other upcoming webinars, or you watch our webinars on demand. And before we get started, I just want to make sure that everybody knows how to use their webinar panel and to make sure that it is not obstructing the view of the presentation for you. So your webinar panel may look like the image on the right where it is closed up, or the image on the left where it is expanded. And it's very easy to open or close it. You just click on the orange arrow at the top, and that will open or close the panel. Now, if it's obstructing the view of your PowerPoint, you can also drag and move it out of the way. Darlene, can you move back one slide still?
Sorry about that.
That's all right. So if you want to move the webinar panel out of the way, all you do is you click at the top of the panel, and then you just drag it out of the way. So you can open, close it, or you can click at the top and drag it out of the way. In the last 5 minutes of the webinar, we will have a Q&A session. And to ask questions, you click on the gray questions bar, and then you type in your questions in the blue rectangle underneath, and we will address all of your questions at the end of the webinar. Now I'm going to turn my video camera off so you can concentrate on the presentation, and I'm going to pass it on to Darlene. Thank you, Darlene, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Mickey, for having me. And everyone, welcome. It's an honor, a pleasure to be here. And let me tell you a little bit about myself before I turn my camera off and focus totally on you. My name is Darlene Corbett. I'm a speaker, author, licensed therapist, which is my foundation, and a success coach. And over 30 years, I've been working with people to help them get unstuck. And I feel so passionate about my message that I wrote a book called Stop Depriving the World of You. So now let us begin and get ready. Okay. All right. Now, there we go. People get stuck for all kinds of reasons, don't they? Think about it. People get stuck and they don't think they can get unstuck. You probably know a lot of people that feel they can't get unstuck. I cannot tell you how many people come into my office and they say, Darlene, people don't change. And I say, are you kidding? I'm in the change business. Of course people change. People are capable of getting unstuck. But there's so many reasons they are afraid to get unstuck. It's too difficult. Sometimes it is. Life can be like an obstacle course, as beautiful as it is. Sometimes we feel like we're going along the way and there's an obstacle and we get over it, and then another one comes and another, and eventually one may come that feels insurmountable. What happens? We get stuck. People are often fearful of getting unstuck. They don't want to change. They're afraid they're going to change. Change is all around us, which I'll point out in a minute. But fear of change also means they might be fearful of changing because of the people around them. If they change, the relationship often changes. And finally, complacency. People are just comfortable. They think they're comfortable where they are. And then some little nugget comes into play and they say, gee, if I pushed a little, if I push, maybe I'll get unstuck. But again, it goes back to fear and difficulty. Today, I want to prove to you that everyone is capable of getting unstuck, regardless of their circumstances, regardless of their age. Everyone is capable. Now, I want to invite you to think about this. The universe is always in flux. Nothing stays the same. As I said earlier, change is the only constant. When I said this to a couple of people, one woman who was going through a divorce looked at me and said, that's not true. I got divorced and that's permanent. I said, yes, but you shifted and got unstuck. And she conceded to that position. Another woman said to me, I don't even know what flux means. I think you should change that word. And I listened and I heard her and I said, well, I appreciate your comment, but everything is in flux. I'm going to keep that word simple, but to the point. So let's talk about this. Think about the weather. You know, you get weather forecasts, but sometimes it doesn't feel like it's going to change. And we don't know always the moment. Sometimes they predict it correctly, sometimes they don't. For example, think about a rainy day. You're out there and it's misty, it's rainy. They say the sun's going to come out. You just don't know when. And then all of a sudden, the sun starts to shine. And then if you look close enough, you'll see the beauty of a rainbow. And if you think about this example, it's a metaphor for life. We're going about our business. People will say same old, and then boom, something changes. And often it can be so positive that you may be able to capture a fleeting opportunity if you're looking, but it's fleeting and you want to grab it while you can. So let's take you on a little journey to further prove my point. We are changing internally and externally. Change is all around us. So now I'm going to invite you to close your eyes for a moment and go inward a bit. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and imagine. I want you to imagine that you're walking along a beautiful beach on a beautiful summer day in the early, early morning. The sun is beginning to rise, and as that big red ball makes its way into the sky, you can notice the beautiful colors reflecting it, purple and rose and silver, as if an artist took paint from its palette onto a canvas, about to create something new, something magnificent, and something unique. Even though the sun rises every day and sets every day, that particular moment in time is unique, a change that's happening, but you'll never see again. So as you walk, you'll breathe in the air, you'll breathe it out, you'll notice the waves rising and falling, you'll notice the sand beneath your feet, knowing that the earth is moving. It's actually rotating around the sun, but we don't feel it because of gravity. Everything is changing. Nothing stays the same. Now, I invite you to go inward also. And I want you to just imagine now as that body, that magnificent design of the human body is shifting. It shifts while we're sleeping. It shifts more while we're awake. So I want you just to think about the body. It's truly like a symphony, which is why I have the picture open of a symphony, an orchestra. You have the respiratory system, the lungs expanding and contracting, breathe in the air, breathing it out. You have the magnificent heart, the mighty circulatory system, taking the oxygen taking it through the blood, bringing it through the organs, taking out the carbon dioxide. You have the muscles moving all along with this, the mighty bones, our structure, our fine, strong bones. You have other systems moving, the genitourinary, the gastrointestinal. Everything is working in sync, and yet we don't realize it. You have the mighty brain conducting it. And I tell you, it's like a symphony, because if you think about it, all the systems work together in our body. When one is off, it often impacts another. And the mighty brain is the conductor of all this. It's just like a symphony. You have the winds, you have the strings, you have the brass, everything working in sync. But if one is off, it has impact. What a beautiful design, the human body. So there's change internally, externally. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. And we're going to talk now about a science that proves my point. The science of neuroplasticity. Now, many of you may have heard of this. And why it resonates with me, and I'll talk more about it, is because I have a hypnotherapy background. It's the idea that the brain is able to change. It's malleable. Now, you might say to yourself, well, of course it is. Well, not really. This was not the thought for many centuries of scientists. The idea since Galileo up until the early 20th century was that the brain is like a machine. If a piece breaks off, well, good luck to that, whatever part that that piece helps navigate, it's done for. Then the early 20th century happened, and they realized that the brain is malleable in children. They experimented on kittens. They actually used the brain to shift the finger movements of one kitten, or should I say the paw. And they realized, yes, children have malleability, but that window closes after a short period of time. Then in the late, maybe mid-50s, 60s, they realized malleability occurs from the day we enter this world until the day we leave. This is so magnificent, and it has vast implications. We've already begun to see the shifting, and we will see even more. And your children will see more, and their children will be seeing more. It's so exciting. So let me give you an example, a story of hope, and a story that just will get you to think about this. And this is many years ago. We are seeing such movement as we go along. Many years ago, there was a scholar. His name was Pedro Barquerita, and he was brilliant. And unfortunately, he had a massive stroke. Now, at the time, again, even though they weren't sure of the malleability of the brain, they realized with a stroke victim, after a certain period of time, well, the resources aren't going to help. Well, this man's son was a physician, and he didn't buy this theory. So he took his father home, and he took his father and gave him all the time he needed. But he treated his father almost like he treated him like an infant. He started out with treating him like a baby, got him on the floor to crawl, held his hand back, really taught him, got that brain to shift. Eventually, Mr. Barquerita regained all of his functioning. He went on to become a professor again. He married again. And about 5 years later is when he died, but because of a heart attack. They did an autopsy on this gentleman, and they discovered, this is the real important piece here, that massive stroke, the area it took place in, never healed. The brain rerouted itself and got its function in another part of the brain. This is immense. We are just beginning to see what's going to happen in the next several years and several decades. It's exciting. And the brain heals itself is the book that this comes from. And Norman Doidge has been giving examples within this book all about this exciting science that's really still in its infancy, its toddlerhood, if you will. Now, why is this important to what we're talking about today? We're talking about the brain's capacity. If it can help a stroke victim, it can help change behavior. I have witnessed the changing of behavior, which is, again, why this resonates with me. Because it's about the conscious and the unconscious working together. You're talking about behavior, you're talking about habits. Habits start in the conscious, and then they go to the unconscious. And that's what makes them so stubborn to change. But they can. People can learn new things all along, as we know. Think about all the people that say they learned a new language, even as adults. They've gone to a new country and they get immersed in the language and they learn. How about all those people that retire? And they retire and they learn to play the piano. They learn to do all these things they didn't have time for. They learn to play bridge. They learn to learn another language. They learn so many things. And yet, if you say you can change behavior, people go, oh, no, it's too late. You can't change. That's it. We're talking about behavior, not personality. In fact, even some believe you can change personality. And if you think about it, if behavior changes, of course it's going to impact personality. Now we're going to talk about the incredible power of the unconscious mind. And we're going to talk about why, again, hypnotherapy, whether it be called hypnotherapy, intense visualization, auto-suggestion, or mental rehearsal, they all tap into something similar. The ability to go inward. You're still very conscious, but you're going inward and you're practicing and you're visualizing. And again, it uses focused attention. So you've got auto-suggestion, intense visualization, hypnotherapy, mental rehearsal. We're going to talk about it from the mental rehearsal standpoint, only because it's just easier because we're going to learn how it really taps into focused attention. But remind me to say again and again, the reason why it resonates is because of the hypnotherapy element. There's so many similarities. The same thing with intense visualization. The same thing with auto-suggestion. It's repetition and practice. But focused attention. Why do you think when people study, it's focused attention? When people change habits, it's focused attention. And everyone is capable. Now, I want to talk about a very high level of mental rehearsal called mental chess. And not all of us maybe have that ability right now, but again, if one practices it, who knows? We don't know unless we try. That's the beauty. So mental chess, let me tell you a story. Another story of a gentleman. He was this Israeli man. He was captured by the Soviets long ago, for those of you who remember, like me, when Russia and many other countries were part of the Soviet Union. And they put him in solitary confinement. He knew, this man, that did not bode well for his brain. So what did he do? He began to practice mental chess. Back and forth, visualizing the chess pieces, visualizing moving them. I don't know how often, but my guess is he at least did this a few times a day, over and over. 9 years after he came out of solitary, his brain was intact because that was his biggest concern. Will his brain atrophy? It did not. If anything, it was so sharp. He went to Israel, and at some point later, I don't know how many months later, Garry Kasparov, the world chess champion, came to Israel. And many people that were excelled at chess thought they could try to play with him and try to beat him. Well, every single person Mr. Kasparov played with, he beat, of course. He was the world champion, but not this gentleman. This gentleman who practiced mental chess beat the world champion of chess. So that tells you the importance of, we have this beautiful butterfly in front of you we're going to get to, but the importance of not just recognizing it's the physical acumen. You hear athletes talk about this. It's not just the physicality. It's often, they believe, the mental capacity. You know, if you think about some people, like, I'll give an example, Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas, I remember way back when I was, younger, should I say. He was a basketball player for the Detroit Pistons. His son, Isaiah Thomas Jr., I believe he played for the Celtics for a while, and now I'm not really sure where he plays. But this man, I think, was only 5'8", playing amongst the giants in basketball. What do you think? Do you think it was just physical? It was just his physical agility? Absolutely not. It has to be mental rehearsal. The visualization, the belief, and the recognition, the practice has to go not just with the body, but with the mind. And that's why behavior can change. Behavior can reveal itself in ways that we may never have thought possible. Now, the beauty of change, and this is some people's fear, again, is the butterfly effect. And if some of you probably know this theory, but many years ago, I believe it was in the 1960s, a man named Dr. Lorenz, he postulated that the wings of a butterfly that made small movements would somehow impact weather on the other side of the world. Well, let me tell you, the scientific community did not take too kindly to this theory. They saw it as folklore. They just really repudiated it. So basically, the man who suggested this went into obscurity, as did this theory, and it became basically folklore science fiction. And then at some point, two physicists came along and they said, no, this gentleman was correct. The wings of a butterfly in one part of the world, those small movements, can have big impact later on at another point. And I invite you to think about, if you begin to get unstuck, or anyone you knows, it has bearing on your relationships. It can help not be doing so. Think about it. Any shift impacts another shift. If you begin to change, it impacts your relationship. And as I say to people, if you think about it, if it's for the positive, and some people don't embrace that, You have to reevaluate that relationship or friendship, or you have to have a discussion with that person. But how can a positive shift of getting unstuck not have impact? And hopefully it's a positive impact. Think about, and as a person in the field of psychotherapy, human behavior, I often don't know the end of the story, how my words will impact somebody later in life. Some people share those stories with me. They'll send me letters and they'll tell me, and I don't even remember what I say. So remind yourself of this. If you get unstuck, not only does it impact you and help you, but hopefully those around you will invite it and embrace it. And if they don't, well, you just keep trying to keep getting unstuck, because who knows what it can do for you. But the butterfly effect is alive and well. And all my people that are healers or teachers tell me the same stories. They don't always know the end of the story. And we're lucky when we hear it. And just think of those of you who have children. You're impacted them. Even if you don't think they're listening. I can promise you that. So remind yourself of the butterfly effect. It's a beautiful, and if you think about it, the butterfly goes from this beautiful caterpillar, should I say not so beautiful, to this magnificent, magnificent insect. So like I said, you're helping people sometimes get unstuck without you even knowing it. You getting unstuck may help others. Really remember that. It's a magnificent thing to think about. And sometimes people will tell you, and maybe not, but just think, even an act of kindness, holding the door for someone, they may be having a bad day. If you think that you're having a tough time, if you do something like that, it helps you get unstuck and it helps them get unstuck also. So unstuck, I chose the word unstuck. It is my acronym. I chose it because it has so many beautiful words we can associate with each letter. Unstuck. So let's start with you. U is for unique. I chose the word unique. Now, why would you say unique? Because you are unique. Your DNA is your foundation. Your uniqueness is your foundation. When I say this to people, they say, there's nothing special about me. I say, oh, there's everything special about you. They'll say, well, I'm friendly, but so isn't so-and-so, and so isn't so-and-so. Well, that may be, but the friendliness on you is different from someone else. Just think about an outfit you might wear. It may look beautiful on you. It may not look so beautiful on someone else, or it might look beautiful on them equally so, but different, uniquely so. Think about every star in the sky. If you look quickly, you'll say, oh, they all look the same. That may be, and some might, be shinier than others, but every single star is unique. Every single diamond is unique. Every tree, every single human being. We all have unique DNA. And even identical twins may have the same DNA, but their fingertips are unique. Think about the importance of this. Because if you tap into your uniqueness, you don't know what gifts you can tap into. I'm going to talk about more of that, about creativity. If you get in touch with your uniqueness, just thinking about it will help again. That thought will ferment another thought. So begin to write down, and you can take a piece of paper now if you will, if you have one nearby. And if not, just jot it on your iPhone or wherever. What makes you unique? Or just write down the word unique and think about it, and later on return to it. Next, if you have that piece of paper now, actually write down N. N is for new. If you think about it, what I just said is old. Everything is new. I move, it's new. You move, it's new. Your breath is new. Every moment is new. Now, why is this important? Well, I'm a therapist, so of course we look at the past when we need to. We always look at it. We take a cursory look sometimes a deeper look. It depends. But the past only serves two purposes, because it's over. One, savoring those delicious memories that we have. Two, what have you learned from it? We always want to think about, are we lifelong learners in some form? And I'll talk more about that. But even, you don't have to go back to school, but lifelong learning, what have I learned from that? And if you think about it, it helps propel us the more we focus on the new. And everything is new. And the beauty is the next moment will be new. So if you feel you're stuck in the past, and that's where therapy, therapists can help, is to help you get unstuck from it, because it's done, it's over. You want to move away from it because it really should be where it belongs, in the past. The next letter is strength. We all have strength. Sometimes we don't even realize it. You wonder how you do something. You wonder how you manage to get over something. It's the strength that we have. I had a fabulous hypnotherapist professor, and she talked about inner strength. Her name was Claire Fredrickson. She was just lovely. And I took her idea and I capitalized on it, or I modified it, should I say. And she talked about inner strength, a thought, a vision, a bodily sensation, a feeling. And I added to it a sound. Sometimes it's someone's voice. Sometimes it's someone's smile. Sometimes it's a memory, a positive memory. But you can go inward and think about that, an inner strength. And again, you can write down later what's your strength. I have a vision of a beautiful, magnificent warrior queen. I used to do yoga, and I see this beautiful queen adorned in apparel of jewels, jewels of strength. T for tenacity. Tenacity is the most important ingredient in many ways, because the most successful people getting unstuck or going beyond getting unstuck, hopefully tapping into the power of them and going forward, those people are the most tenacious, not the most intelligent, not the most beautiful, not the richest, not the most gifted, the most tenacious. You look at people like Steve Jobs, all these people that just keep overcoming that rejection, those obstacles, and getting through it. U is for unique again. Again, a reminder for you to tap into your uniqueness. You may come up with ideas every day, and you can use them. I had a client that said people saw her as a rock. So when I hypnotized her, I said, not only are you a rock, but you rock. You can take it and add on to it. Creativity. We are all creative. We were created. Many people create in different ways. We are all creative. Now, you might say, well, no, I have nothing. I'm not artistic. I can't do this. Have you really tried? You may have, you may not. But there's different ways to show your creativity. Some are gifted as children. Theirs come forth right away. Why? I don't know. But others, 50, 60, 70 years of age, 80, 90. I wrote in my book about a man. He wrote a book at 96 years old to help him assuage the grief of the loss of his wife. You just don't know until you try and tapping into it. And finally, write this down as K is for knowledge. Knowledge, the importance of always learning in whatever form that is. I happen to love to read. I'm a bookaholic. That's not for everyone. But we have knowledge, learning from other people, listening, using all our senses. We have the World Wide Web, the internet at our fingertips, the greatest invention since the printing press. So we have all these things. So write these down, take a picture, a screenshot, and begin to think. It's about how we think that changes and helps us get unstuck. So by getting unstuck, you're tapping into the power of you, first of all, which I have invited you to begin to think about. And I'm sure many of you have done so. I'm taking a different perspective based on my foundation of therapy, hypnotherapy, visualizing, writing it down. But not only do we want you to get unstuck, we want to help you stop depriving the world of you. I started saying this to clients because they said, you're very friendly, but not everyone is. That may be, but there's many very good people out there that will be receptive. So I said to them, stop depriving the world of you. And that's what I invite you to do if you think you're doing so, no matter what age, what your situation is. And once you do, who knows? The sky's the limit. So if you want to learn more about it too, you can go read my book called Stop Depriving the World of You. But for now, begin your journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Darlene, for this wonderful presentation. And I hope that you all feel a little less unstuck and you have some tools to move yourself forward. And this is the time, if you have any questions, click on that great questions bar and ask your questions. I also want to invite you to join the I Am Back at Work Women's Only closed Facebook group, where we provide daily tips and you hear about different positions that are available, and we support each other throughout the work, the job search process and throughout your career. So that's the I'm Back at Work Facebook group. And any questions that if you have any questions, comment, then we will wait for those now. So I see, Darlene, I think that everything was so clear that we actually don't have questions today.
Okay.
So people have been very attentive, and I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And I want to thank you again, Darlene. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Mickey.